The dictatorship of the proletariat. It's a very common phrase used by many Leninists, Marxists by different creeds. What is it? What does it mean? What are the different flavors of it, so to say? Let's discuss this, and because there's a lot of questions, good questions, people have about it, because, Americans, at least American leftists, are kind of reawakening. The left in America is, just kind of reorganizing itself. It's trying to find what it is, so let's take a look at some of the aspects of Marx that we can incorporate into our movement. Many leftists have came up with the idea of implementing a dictatorship of the proletariat. What is it? Well, quite simply, it just means kind of what it is. It is a dictatorship, a totalitarian state owned by the proletariat. It is the system of government that exists post-revolution. So it's not the pre-existing government, it's not a reformist, it's not a fix. It is a complete overhaul of how the previous government, whatever it was, reorganized into a dictatorship of the proletariat. It is a revolutionary act. Lenin himself was a big proponent of this. Post-revolution, the dictatorship owns all means of production and all of private property. It is seen as a transitionary stage between a capitalist economy and a communist economy. Lenin himself wrote to be organized in a democratic, centralized way, democratic centralism. That little last bit there, some have, critiqued. Thinking it should be organized a little bit differently. People believe it should be a council democracy, like myself. Yes, having one centralized power kind of maintaining everything does have its uses, but also, has its cons. Council democracy has its pros and its cons, That's kind of what politics is. The state being controlled by the proletariat, what does that mean? It means people of that state or of the society, people that are part of the government, are the proletarians, the liberated workers. Union leaders, teachers, nurses, industrialists to truck drivers, food handlers, you name it, they are part of the government. It's not a bureaucratic career politician system. It's not a parliamentary system. It is a one-party controlling state government with proletarians being part of it. Shall it exist? Well, this is probably where every single leftist will say yes and or no to different means and different ends. I think we should stop debating on what it is, but more if this is what we should take. This is the direction we shall take. This will happen with time, this will happen with debate, and this will happen with organizing and on the material needs of the working class. Different countries, different nations have had different socialist or communist experiences pre and post revolution. Russia had a vanguard state, and that was responsive to the needs of the people then. In Germany, before the Nazis took over, there was a rising communist party that was much more council communist, left communist. That was based off of the needs of Germany at that time. The French experience, a lot of kind of mainstream socialists, syndicalists were allied with each other, and that was responsive to the needs of France at that time, at the turn of the 20th century. Because the class struggle of France wasn't as extreme as it was in Germany or Russia. They were modernized up until early 20th century standards. The few factories they had, the socializing of agriculture, that needed a directive action, general strike method. And that's what kind of the rise of syndicalism was in France and still is now. So this last point is that, is it effective? Does the dictatorship of the proletariat, which is the child of a vanguard party, naturally, does it work? Well, in the nations where one has had a vanguard state or vanguard party producing a proletarian state, mostly has worked with differing successes. Yes, it secured the revolution. What has preceded after it has been a mixed bag. And so my message to people is you must accept the flaws that it may have. If you have a democratically centralized party, you are incorporating party politics in the economy. Do with that what you may, but that is what happens. Councilism, it's much more responsive. I would say it's a better democratic worker system than a party dictatorship. It does have its flaws. It's, it prevents immediate action in a nationwide scale. It is more internationalist, I would say. It's less patriotic or nationalistic. When I say nationalistic, it's not ethnic nationalism, this is left-wing nationalism. So protectionist trade, border security, kind of those broad schemes of a nation, or a better secured station than councilism. Now, me personally, I am more pro-protectionist trade, or at the very least, if capitalism still exists, or elements of it. This does come from my personal experience as a factory worker. But, yep. Just a few things that we should, really debating and stop nitpicking on what one person may think or another. I think this video may help clarify some basic questions, misconceptions, and kind of go down to the nitty-gritty of what leftists need to talk about.